Hello, everyone, and welcome to TV Spin Episode 2. Angus, we got a name. We got a name. We actually came up with one.
You got a name for this podcast?
I mean, almost the most generic name you could think about it. Slidespin.tv, and we put the TV at the beginning. So what should we be? TV Spin Slide Dot? Okay, anyway, that wasn't funny.
What?
Now,
what are you talking about? Have you officially
okay.
lost your mind?
Yeah, okay, I'm not Andrew Carroll. So anyway, a Slide Spin associate. Now, anyway, this is TV Spin, and Johnny Natrium is currently in a clinic where he is getting better because he has some problems. Not his fault at all. Physical problems.
It's my fault.
He won't be joining us. Okay, fine. In this situation, Angus has just killed Johnny, and he'll be back next episode, just like Kenny from South Park. Look at that TV reference to get beginning. So, what are we going to be talking about, Angus? Nintendo 64.
We are going to be talking about the critically and financially applauded television show Seinfeld, starring Jerry Seinfeld. And this show, I tell you what, is so influential and popular that even today, it still beats out most shows on the ratings. And the show ended like 14 years ago.
Cable-wise, yes.
Well, yeah, but still, I mean, there's a lot of shows on cable exclusively, and this show is
so
just popular.
Quickly, how many viewers does it get? When you were looking at it, what was its rating? What was it, 1 point?
Oh, yeah, no, it beat, like, stuff like TNA, Total Non-Stop Action Wrestling. It had, like, 1.3 or something.
Okay, so at some point, it would beat new episodes of Community.
Yeah, definitely. It's very popular to this day, and, I mean
yeah.
That's probably why we should talk about it, because it is such a popular show. But why is it so popular? What makes Seinfeld so great?
Why is it so popular? That's a good question. I think it will bring us into our first theme, and I think you can tell that we're a little bit rusty. But okay, this is what I think, Angus. I think you'll definitely agree. The 90s was a time when television was still the point of, like family sitcoms, Married with Children, which was a bit more edgy, but not really. And then what's that other one? The one with Gary Coleman and all those ones, Different Strokes.
Well, that was the 80s.
That was the 80s, but it was like it's still kind of those sort of shows still existed in the 90s. But
I don't think so.
The beginning of the 90s was when the beginning of the 90s. Look at the beginning of the 90s. Some of the shows that were around, they still were kind of whimsical in nature, and the 90s kind of did showcase a shift into more edgier, kind of unique shows. I mean, Frasier. I think Cheers was still on for a little bit. Friends, even, whether you like it or not. It was, we were getting into some different stuff, I think.
The difference between Seinfeld and most of the stuff that was on TV back then is that most of it was like positive, happy-go-lucky storyline stuff like that. Seinfeld, the show about nothing, so to speak. The most mundane stuff would happen to these people, and it was never like, didn't always end positively,
I would almost argue it almost never ended positively for the characters.
The finale didn't end positively. That's one thing. One of the most downbeat finales you'll ever see.
I mean, let's not even talk about that yet, but yes, one of the most downbeat finales ever, unfortunately. But I mean, talking about why Seinfeld was popular in a market still filled with kind of more happy-go-lucky shows. This show was the definition of a show about nothing, but also a show about everything. Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't entirely about nothing, though. Let's
exactly. That's what I'm. Yeah, but see, without getting too philosophical, everything is nothing in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like when they say nothing, they actually kind of mean everything. But but more simple stuff, like an episode about a soup kitchen, an episode about a pen being taken from a house, an episode about someone wearing a puffy shirt or a low talker. And the show pretty much has thousands of quotable scenarios or names or just quotes in general. Low talker, close talker.
Well, really, the show isn't about nothing. It's basically, it's about four friends living in New York who get up to the most crazy shit, and all of them are like horrible people as well. Like, let's not forget that every single character has a negative trait, or all
Multiple
characters.
negative traits.
All characters are incredibly like well, in society they would like not function, and they'd be like thrown into like the madhouse or jail immediately because they're all psychopaths basically.
But you know, interestingly enough, I think that when you say that, a lot of the times when you see these people behaving badly, it's because, well, not the system, but social etiquette gets the better of them before they have an opportunity to respond.
Also, a lot of
Sometimes
coincidence
George is
though.
just plain, yeah, sometimes George is just plain unlucky. You know what I mean? And then he acts like someone does something bad to George, and then George responds so much worse. You know what I mean? Remember the whole thing with, like the boss being a douchebag to him, and then he goes, "Yeah, well, I slept with your wife." Like he just takes it too far. The Seinfeld crew take everything too far, and that's why they're not good people. You know what
Basically,
I mean?
yeah.
There's a lot of unfortunate situations that happen to the characters. You know what I mean? People cutting in line and stuff, and then they just go one step further and just go
Okay,
next,
let's take a look at
basically.
one example when Jerry's at the cake shop getting the cake, and this the certain cake he wants or whatever it was, I can't remember what cake it was. Some old lady takes it, and so he chases her down the street and steals it off her. Like, come
Yeah,
on, that's the epitome of taking it too far, and that's like, I guess that's also something as well. Like, the show, it looks like it's grounded in reality because like it actually uses a lot of real life locations and stuff, but no one acts like this in real life. Like, no one could get away with the stuff that these guys get away with in real life. It's such a like a
oh,
parad. It's very paradoxical, isn't it? Because it's one of the most like realistic, I guess, shows, sitcoms at least.
it is
But
definitely very
but at the
realistic.
same time, you couldn't imagine anyone actually being this
Well,
extreme in real
you
life.
couldn't imagine people being like that now. I mean, because like I mean, certain ways that they behave, you would see people behave like that, but they would be labeled as like miscreants or not miscreants. They'd be labeled as fucking. Well, they'd be labeled as George Costanzas right
Oh,
now.
George.
You know what I mean? They would be
Arguably,
labeled.
yeah. The thing with Seinfeld is like it's called Seinfeld, but this is trying kind of changing tracks a bit. But everyone reckons the show was just a vehicle for George Costanza.
I don't agree with that statement, mainly because I think that honestly it was everyone. I don't think you can just focus it on George. Yes, he was the most probably iconic, memorable character from the show, but that doesn't take away the fact that Seinfeld needed to be there. I remember seeing some comments saying, "Oh, just get rid of Jerry. He's so boring." No, Jerry is almost equally neurotic. It's just in a different. They're pretty much equally neurotic. It's just in different ways they are. And what happens is it begins, right? It begins showing how George Costanza is like the really neurotic guy. But by the end of season 9, I would almost point out that Elaine is worse. Or in terms of human interest and selfishness, I would say that Elaine is almost the worst character. If you know what I mean, like there is an evolution throughout the show where you start off going, yeah, okay, George is crazy. Then by the end of it, you're like, no, they're all crazy,
Oh, and Kramer, they're all a different type of crazy. I mean, look at
all
Kramer.
different
He's
type of
like
crazy.
Kramer's like an eccentric weirdo type of crazy. Uh, George is like the neurotic guy. Jerry's the just so guy. Everything has to be just so.
Hmm.
Elaine is I can't define her type of craziness. She's like a I don't she's like a socially awkward maybe. Is that it? Doesn't get along.
Social, just
Socially stunted
douchebag.
maybe.
She's just a like just she'd be unbearable to hang out with.
I
You know
would
what I
say
mean?
she's socially
Everything's centered on
stunted.
her.
Yeah,
You know,
that's probably it.
the characters almost show each other no affection. That's the funny thing. Like they really, like, why are they even friends? They just kind of go into the apartment and they talk, and all of it's just about them. You know what I mean? That's the thing, and that's something you realize that they really are just not good people. They just pains, really.
Yeah, that's true. I wouldn't, I like to hang around these people in real life, but it's damn funny to watch.
It's good to watch them. I'd love, yeah.
Now,
I'd love to,
what's your
I'd love
favorite
to see them
episode of
function.
Seinfeld? Let's just talk about that for a second.
Favorite episode? I feel a bit like Johnny Nature, me having not watched it for ages. I don't have a favorite episode of Seinfeld because I could almost pick up any episode and go, okay, that's my favorite. Like,
That's the answer I was actually looking for, because I was gonna say that it's a very like consistently good show. That's the thing about Seinfeld.
yes,
Everyone
yes.
always says the contest is like the best episode, but
Oh, I love the
it's
contest. But
good.
see, I'll say that about any episode.
And
I
everyone
love
always
that
says
episode.
that the worst episode is the Chinese restaurant, the one where they're just standing
No,
around.
no, 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 no. I think you mean the baby shower. That one's the most hated one.
No, no,
The
no. People really hate the Chinese restaurant.
Okay, idiots hate the Chinese restaurant. Just gonna say that there.
Okay, fine, but I really like that one because it's like a
Oh,
perfect
the
bottled
the
episode.
the, the um the Chinese restaurant to me was the first episode that really showcased the genius of the show. We discussed this in a call like about 7 months ago. The Chinese restaurant is an exemplification of what Seinfeld is about. It is about just the most random kind of but realistic situations in
Oh
people's
yeah,
lives.
you can see yourself standing in a Chinese restaurant, and it
Yes.
happens to everyone,
Yes.
waiting 20 minutes to get a table, and just the shittiest things happen while you're waiting there.
And to me, I think that's when Seinfeld changed. Seinfeld began a lot simpler, a lot not worse, but just different. It was a bit like kind of a bit toned down. The chemistry wasn't there,
Yeah, the first
and
two
then
seasons were okay. It took, I think, by the
I
third season, got into its stride. I really
I
think.
also love the first two seasons though. There's something I really love about the first two seasons. Like a lot of people go, oh, it's when it's finding its legs, and yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I also love the formula of the first two seasons, where it's a bit nicer, bit happier. You know what I mean? At the end of the day,
A bit less heavy as well, because
yeah,
like
yeah, it's
they
less
start
heavy.
focusing on like storylines after a while, like when they're writing the pilot to the
That's a
TV show.
that's a great arc.
Oh yeah, the pilot.
I mean, but you're not going to find us saying, "Oh, I didn't really like that about Seinfeld." It really is just a kiss ass for Seinfeld. It
This
is.
this is a kiss ass podcast, the Seinfeld kiss
It
ass.
is.
But I mean, everyone agrees though. Usually, like I can't find a single person that says I hate Seinfeld. I can find people that say
Check IMDb. You get a bunch of idiots on
yeah,
there,
but
like especially from the early 2000s.
I mean people I talk to in real life.
And oh, now I remember my friend Michael and Unlisted Leaf, we'll go with his username, used to hate Seinfeld. Then he started watching like Arrested Development and that kind of thing, and then realized like how good it really was. Seinfeld is a bit of an acquired taste. I'm not going to say it's the most accessible show to everyone because it isn't. We got to stop pretending that everyone likes that kind of higher brow sitcom. Do you know what I mean? Like, I mean, people are perfectly happy, complacent maybe, watching The Big Bang Theory. Do you know what I mean? Just watching, you don't have to think about anything. You don't have to, even laugh. You just watch it. Seinfeld isn't for everyone, but anyone that I would consider smart, I know that's a bit of a bad thing to say, I would say would like Seinfeld.
And
There's not
all the
one.
people listening to this are smart. All
Yes.
two of them are smart.
No, all 60 of them are smart.
Yeah, okay, well, interesting. But yeah, no. The thing with Seinfeld as well is that unlike The Big Bang Theory, it's not high on like joke humor. It's a lot of observational shit as well, and like
Observational, situational.
stuff that you can almost picture yourself like happening. It's a good example of like you can picture yourself in the scenario, and it's
Yeah,
like
it's
the worst
incredibly.
thing that could happen to you, and it happens, and you like
Yes, exactly. All of the constellations lining up, stars, and like it's like the worst type of thing to happen, and also the kind of thing where if you were to look at it, you'd just shrug in real life. You'd go and you'd sigh and you'd go, "What a bunch of idiots."
But there's
You know
also
what I mean? Like
stuff that actually like happens to you as well. Like the
yeah,
subway, the episode of the subway, for instance, where the train gets stuck on the thing and you have to stand there with like a bunch of people. That's happened more times than I can remember to me on the train, where you have to stand there in the dark with a bunch of people while the power's
exactly
out.
right.
It happens all the time, and
That's
it's the same thing. You think about there's a guy standing next to me. He's really sweaty and smelly, and
yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
It'd be like sitting next to Ratchet 5 on a subway.
It happens all the time, and it balances a fine line between stuff that you can see happening
Bizarro.
to you, and also stuff that you would say would never happen to you. Like when would you get a job at the
that brings on.
Yankees and have a bed under your desk? Like how often does that happen?
And also, in terms of never happened to you, we're saying this as Australian viewers. The show is very New York culture and Jewish, actually, as Johnny Natrium pointed out. It's a very Jewish show. You know what I mean?
It's
It
because
is.
two
It
of the
is.
characters, is
And
Elaine's not Jewish, is she?
we know why, but I'm just saying that like it is a Jewish show. It's a very New York show, and by the end of it, you feel like you know New York more by watching it. I'm going to 34 on Fifth, or I'm going to Parkway on Seventh
How
Drive.
many times? How many times we're watching it and they've dropped like a location? Have you actually Google Maps that location?
Have you?
I have. I've done it a couple
I gotta
times.
do that
But the thing is, actually, the exteriors for Jerry's house are actually shot in
in California.
San Francisco. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw. I've seen that on Google Maps. It's pretty
You
cool.
can tell though. You can really tell because like San Francisco has all those like sloping streets with like the houses on the side of the streets and stuff, and it's like
Yes,
far
yes.
less built up. But
Now
no,
talking. Oh, you go. You go.
I was gonna say it really does feel like New York though. It feels like
It
an
does.
actual like
Even the fake streets, you know what I mean? The ones they constructed. I think it was like season 5. They constructed like a whole street.
good
Maybe
set
even
dressing as well. The set dressing is brilliant. Like
yeah. I wouldn't call it Mad Men brilliant, but I would call it pretty good.
well, it's somewhat low budget. I mean, it doesn't.
Not no, it wasn't. No. It was at the beginning because the ratings were absolutely terrible. That's why in season 3, the intro to the music has that little jingle, easy to beat. That bit, and it goes doom do 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 do
Easy to
do
beat?
do.
Yeah.
Easy to beat. That's referring to the fact that it's easy to beat in the ratings. Apparently,
Oh.
that's what the in joke was.
Oh, really?
So it was a show that was very the ratings were crap. It wasn't even going to go forward until some guy at NBC was like, no, we got our hands on a good one, and they actually do like a situation like that in the show as well when they pitch their show to NBC, which is the Jerry Show or whatever.
Oh yeah, also a young Jeremy Pivens in
Yes.
in the
If
show.
you want to
as well.
see, if you want to see Jeremy Piven before he magically grew his hair back 10 years later, and which is very reminiscent of Jason Alexander growing his hair back, go and watch. Is it season 4, episode something?
I think it's like episode 21 of season 4.
It's great. Yeah, guest stars wise, we got a lot of people before they were famous. Terry Hatcher was in it before she was famous.
Oh yeah,
They're real and they're spectacular.
Bryan Cranston was in it.
Bryan Cranston, the anti-dentite.
Who else
Anna
was
Gunn from Breaking Bad as well. Rob Odenkirk.
Oh,
we
don't forget the ever loving Patrick Warburton, whatever his name is, Warburton, isn't it?
Patrick Warburton. Who's it? What's he from again?
He's from like everything. He voices like all those kind of characters.
Oh, yeah.
He plays Joe from Family Guy. Also, we got
Warburton. Yeah. David Putty.
yeah.
David
Also,
Putty.
who else is in it? Jerry Stiller.
Jerry Stiller?
Yeah, he plays Frank.
Oh, Jerry Stiller. Yeah. Not
And also the woman who plays Mrs. Potato Head's in there as well.
Oh, yeah.
Her name escapes me. She plays
Estelle Harris.
Oh, that's her name. Yeah, she plays Estelle. The character she plays is Estelle.
I'm pretty sure she's in. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, something Harris or something. I think she was in Sweet Love of Zack and Cody. But yeah, there's some great stars in this one. Oh, Larry David does a lot of voices as well, which I find
He
hilarious.
voices Newman in Newman's first appearance, actually.
Yeah, when they were gonna kill Newman, and then he.
Yeah, they were
he
going
didn't.
to kill Newman in his first appearance when he's about to suicide
And
Bill.
doesn't Wayne Knight just shine?
Wayne Knight is good. I really wish
love
he made more appearances though. Like he's only in like 50 episodes or less or something.
No, yeah, I would like more. I would have, no, actually, no. I kind of like the mystery as to why they hate each other. You never really know, and like even Jerry's mum says, "Hello, Newman," like
He's the closest thing that comes to a villain in the show because the show isn't really like villain hero.
I would
based.
argue he's an antagonist.
Well, that is the term definition of a villain, a synonym.
No, because a protagonist isn't necessarily a hero.
Pro means good. Hero.
Yeah, but in media, in literary media, protagonist doesn't have to mean the good guy.
Well, anyway, he's the closest thing to an.
Because for example, Tony Soprano from The Sopranos is a protagonist, but he's not a good guy, not at all. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, what was I going to say? Something about Newman. I mean, yeah, he would be the closest thing to a villain. and I think he is villainous, and we don't know why. We just know they've been neighbors for some time, and he's
And
a
he works for the postal service.
yeah. Oh, remember the one with the post office and the whole, you're gonna get me or whatever, they're gonna kill you, Kramer, or whatever. They're gonna like ban you from. Remember, he tries to get his junk mail.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
Of course,
that's
everyone like yeah. But it's funny how like every episode is like burnt into your memory in some like
yeah,
way.
yeah. Me and my dad would always do that. We go like, remember the one? And actually, it's funny. The reason why the show Friends got gay, like every episode of Friends is called The One With or The One Where.
Yeah.
So yeah, that like, but like with Seinfeld, if you really think about it, you probably could get the episode titles. Every episode title except for episode 4 of season 1, I think,
Male unbonding.
Male Unbonding, has the at the title. Just as a bit of a trivia.
Even by accident, the first episode did. It was called the Seinfeld Chronicles. I think that was a
Yes,
complete
yes,
accident.
it was, and then like in some transmissions it's called the pilot, but in other transmissions it's the Seinfeld Chronicles.
I like
So,
that. I like this, even though it doesn't make any sense because the whole thing is the Seinfeld Chronicles.
well, yeah, it was kind of like Curb Your Enthusiasm when that first began. It was like a 1 hour special, and they didn't know it was going to get renewed, and it was like a mockumentary, and then it changed. It's like our upcoming project where we're going to like completely change around situation. Yeah, whatever. But yeah, um, pilots do change, and Seinfeld remains relatively similar. I love the differences though in the pilot. There are some great,
Especially with Kramer. Kramer's probably the most obvious difference in the pilot.
don't you mean Kessler?
Whatever. He's like a lot more eccentric, and he wears a dressing gown, and his hair's flat. They flattened out his hair for the
Yeah,
pilot.
that's hilarious.
Yeah, we should talk about Kramer actually, like about especially the Kramer humor. Like, I think his humor is a lot different to most other characters' humor. Like you'll notice, especially in the show, when jokes centered around Kramer are more crazy anecdotal types of jokes and stuff, rather than like funny like put downs or wordplay and stuff.
Yes, Kramer is reminds me a little bit of Chevy Chase in the way, nothing like that personality wise, but physical humor. He's one of the best in the business.
I'd say he's more. I would almost put Kramer as the comic relief of the show, even though it is a comedy sitcom.
Yeah, but that implies he doesn't have much depth beyond a funny moment. The guy's character is actually quite impressively discussed and elaborated on throughout the series. You finally find out what his real name is, Cosmo.
Oh yeah, that's a big.
He's not. Yeah, I know what you're saying about comic relief, but that kind of implies that he's just there to like, hey, he's Kramer, and I think they kind of make light of that the way he enters the room, how he slides in the door,
Oh,
But he is not just a character.
Tell us the mystique behind why he always enters like that.
The mystique as to why he enters like that. I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the fact, or you tell.
Because he apparently, like, the joke is he always misses his cue.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because he was late one day, and he came in and like everyone like cheered or something like that, and so then they thought, oh, just do that, keep that. The producers were like, yeah, keep that.
The classic Kramer slide in is because he accidentally missed his cue. Oh my gosh.
That's right. Yep.
That's like something
I
would do. Like if I was like a showrunner, like if you do something funny once and you just like repeat it all the time.
just run it into no, it is a really great entrance, and they kind of like they subvert, not sub. Do they lampshade it? No, I don't know, something like that. Some TV tropes, technology or whatever.
I can tell you a TV trope. Seinfeld is unfunny.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. We can discuss that after.
Oh, we can discuss it now.
So what? Kramer's just out of the picture now?
We talked Kramer. Well, we can finish talking about Kramer if you want.
Kramer is not really a good person. I know we said that, but like by the end of it, you realize Kramer's probably the least bad, but he does some pretty crazy things in
season 8. He does illegal
9.
things for starters. Like he's a
bit dodgy.
He does do a lot of like. I can't think of any at the moment, but he always
illegal
does
cable. Illegal cable.
That's one. No, but he also does like things like over the top things as well. Like for instance, one time, he to exercise, so to speak, he for some reason swims in the Hudson River.
Oh, yeah, that was
a
good.
Huge thing about that. And also, was he the one who like had a high score on the video game system, and they didn't?
That was George.
That was George.
And
Yeah.
that was I think, the first memory of seeing my dad laugh too hard and me laughing just too hard. I remember when I was a kid, I used to love seeing like images or videos of video games and stuff
Yeah.
on TV. Like I love that Arthur episode where they get obsessed with like, like this duck video game. Anyway, and I just remember seeing that scene when he's crossing the road like in the Frogger style. And I remember I could not stop laughing, and neither could my dad. And that was like my first memory of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
And that's an example of Seinfeld getting more wacky in season 8 and 9. But I hated how people associate more wacky with worse. Season 8 and 9 are still genius. It's just more crazy.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, but anyway, getting back to Kramer. Now, the thing with Kramer as well, to not to mention, is that I think since George and Jerry are almost like that they're friends from way back and stuff, like it's already assumed, like you kind of know their backstory. But Kramer's like is kind of, well, not his backstory, but his character kind of develops the most, I would say, throughout the series. Whereas there's
Kramer?
like, well, it doesn't develop the most, but it gets the most like intricacies like
It
added to it.
has the most mystique to it.
Like, how the hell does he live in his apartment without having an actual job or anything? Like, how does that
I
work?
think they did explain that once. I think it has something to do with his mother.
Yeah, I think so. But also, like, he moves to Hollywood, and then there's like a whole thing
Oh
centered
yeah.
around that.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the worst episodes. I'm pretty
Yeah, I'm
sure
not a
people
huge fan.
hated the one
I'm,
with the
I'm not a
murder.
huge fan of those ones, but I don't think they're bad.
I don't think they were bad.
With
I remember anticipating it when I was because I watched the majority of Seinfeld on my iPod back in the old Year 9 days, about 4 years ago.
so
And I
you're
remember
very qualified to talk about Seinfeld, having only been around with it since long after it was off air.
that's nothing wrong with that. I watched Arrested Development in 2010.
No, but I mean, yeah, we're probably like not the most qualified to be talking
No,
about
I
Seinfeld.
would argue we're almost more qualified because back in the day, people didn't binge watch and people didn't just watch the whole DVD set a million times and stuff like that, or have the opportunity to watch it in such a medium like online or on the computer or
On,
you know,
you mean completely legally via DVD?
yeah, well, I have the DVD so I can do whatever I want. So
Well, I
fuck you,
watched
Sony.
with Seinfeld. I mostly watched it on like I've seen a lot of episodes like on TV, like on repeats and stuff
Yeah,
years back. Like I've been familiar with Seinfeld for so long, like almost just after it like went off air.
yeah, I've been familiar with it since like I think 2000. That was when and like I remember I used to see it on and I used to just kind of think, oh yeah, Seinfeld. I was really disappointed when they took it off air. Like they used to repeat it.
You were 4 years old when you first watched Seinfeld. How
I
the
reckon
hell
it would
did you
be a
get that?
good rating. I didn't get it. I just laughed when my dad laughed
Yeah.
back in the day. You know what I mean? Like,
Anyway, should we talk about Seinfeld as unfunny now?
yeah. You explain the concept of that.
This is
It's a
probably
good
like the
one.
most like criticism Seinfeld gets these days about being
Yes.
unfunny. It's a trope that basically means that Seinfeld did it first and stuff, and a lot of TV shows have kind of tried to replicate the Seinfeld-esque formula. Oh, this because Seinfeld almost reinvented the sitcom in a way, sort of.
Yes.
And you can see a lot of similarities in Big Bang Theory, where you have the gang
Oh,
of, no, they don't do. I'm not saying they do it well. I'm just saying you can see some similarities in it, where you got the gang of four or whatever, and they're all just as crazy as each other, and they all go through crazy situations and stuff. Really, I guess you could say similar, like kind of stuff was done before that, but Seinfeld is probably the most prominent for it. And everyone always says that since everything is trying to replicate Seinfeld and borrowing from Seinfeld, that the original seems like you've seen it already, or you've seen this joke before, or that kind of thing.
yeah. That's what you'd call it in a nutshell. I mean, to quote from the page, for example, here's a quote about a certain show. It would go, someone says, I don't know what the big deal with Hamlet is. It's just one famous saying after another. That's referring to the fact that someone has seen over the years, I would say literally almost thousands of movies that steal from the Hamlet formula, the original Shakespeare play, and so you watch Hamlet and you go back and like, so?
It's
This
it's
guy
also
does this.
like if you're watching like a movie or something, and you were watching its sequels before you watched the original one, you would say that the original one is crap because okay, no, actually, no. Let's take this into a format we can all understand. Video games, okay? So
Yes, that's it.
you play Crash Bandicoot 3, then you play Crash Bandicoot 2, and you're like, oh, I like these games, they're really good. And then you play Crash Bandicoot 1, it's like, oh, this game's not that good, even though it is actually still a good game, but since you've played the other ones, you don't think it's as good, or you think it's nothing special, kind of thing. I think the same thing can go for your hatred for Super Mario 64, because you can't really, like, say that, like, it's a bad game, because you don't...
No, it's not a bad game, no.
You weren't around at the time that it came out,
Yeah,
and how
if
revolutionary.
let's say I saw it before Crash Bandicoot or Spyro, maybe I'd appreciate it more. But yeah, because it came first, it was kind of like this thing that was quite revolutionary for its time. And so therefore that's why it's so appreciated, but it's also why people go, it's not that good as well. There are a lot of people that go, whatever. And I still stand by my point that it is a pretty untextured game as well. It's really not visually impressive. The controls are okay, but it was the beginning of the 3D platformer thing. But I mean, relating this to Seinfeld, the Chinese restaurant was like a revolutionary kind of thing. Now you look at it and it's kind of like, oh, what they're just doing, sit in a room. Like so many shows use that bottle episode technique now, where like nothing happens. You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Breaking
It's
Bad did it.
Yeah, Breaking Bad did it. Peep Show did it. Doctor Who loves the bottle episode.
Oh, Community loves their bottle episodes. Except I would argue that Community has one of the best bottle episodes that I've ever seen. Where
Yeah,
like they're stuck in a room, but it's hard to explain. Like and like they also actually Community also do this thing. Like you've got like Seinfeld. Hey, have you know how Seinfeld there? I think there was a total of 4 episodes, like in total, if you count half episodes. 4 episodes in total of like talk flashbacks or what's it called, best ofs. When Community does best ofs, what they do is they actually make it entirely based off new footage and make it seem like it's a clip show, but it's new footage entirely.
yeah,
So that's an example of getting a technique that old shows did and evolving it. Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
from a show like Seinfeld.
I don't necessarily agree with the Seinfeld trope of Seinfeld is unfunny though, because to me
Yeah.
it seems like I never really thought that to be.
I look at it and I see it's being better because so many other shows tried and failed. And then you go back to Seinfeld and go, well, look at that. They did it right, didn't they?
Well,
That's the
I appreciate older like stuff like Seinfeld and like older video games and older things. I appreciate things that came first and started the trend of stuff. So
There's
that's
no
why
need. Yeah. Yeah.
that's why I don't necessarily think it's like unfunny or whatever.
Oh, anyone that thinks, yeah. There's a, like, if you look at all the sitcoms released today, in some form, it imitates Seinfeld, at least certain things, like just the whole buddy dynamic or the segues into talking about like really minor things, and then people find that really genius now. I mean, Peep Show in a way you could argue is similar to Seinfeld, not in its theme, but in its conversational style, where Jez and Mark are just talking about just the most random stuff. You know what I mean? And you're like, what are they talking about?
Referential
Oh,
humor as well, very
yeah,
Seinfeldy thing as well.
yeah.
People weren't really doing that too much around that time.
No, and that's why it has the Seinfeld is unfunny trope because it was the first show to do that.
Let's not forget,
Frank,
Seinfeld has been around now for 24 years.
1989. Wow,
Doesn't feel like 24. Well, I mean, I'm not 24, so I can't say it doesn't feel like.
doesn't it feel like such a long time since it ended? Ugh.
Well, no. See, the funny thing is, like, in our lifetime, we've gone from genius like Seinfeld and genius like Alan Partridge to stuff like Big Bang Theory and stuff like Two
Yeah,
More Girls.
but there were crappy shows like that around in the 90s, and people conveniently do choose to forget that. That's another opposite spectrum of where people regard the older times as just being better just because they were older. There were shows around like The Big Bang Theory and Two Broke Girls, but it's just because they're kind of older and we kind of defend them because they're older. So I also, and this is coming from someone that I think that The Big Bang Theory is just about the worst show I've ever seen. I think it's an
Oh, I
insult.
hate it. I hate the show. It's one of the most. We will do a podcast one day about why we hate The Big Bang Theory. We're not going to
Oh yeah.
spoil all our material here because I've got I could prepare an
But
essay on why The Big
before
Bang Theory
we do
sucks.
that, we need to watch a lot of the episodes because we have to be kind of professional about it. You know what I mean? Like I still think I should watch all of season 1 and 2. No, all of season 1 and like 4 episodes from each season after because apparently it starts off good and gets bad.
Oh,
Or
it's so
apparently
repetitive, that show. Anyway, we're not talking about Big Bang Theory. We're not ripping a hole into Big Bang Theory yet. We're just what else can we say about Seinfeld?
well, let's talk about the actual plots that happen. Let's talk about what happens in an episode. Something will start off like, something will happen and it will be very minor. And then it will somehow cause something that then causes the characters to have a motivation to retaliate or to do something or to get something. And it almost ends shit for them by the end of it. They never get what they want.
Yeah, I would think of a typical Seinfeld episode of George running out of a room angrily or something. I don't
or
know,
getting embarrassed.
getting
Or
embarrassed or well,
George's Jobs was a great plot they had going for the whole series. Everyone kind of had a plot go. Kramer was very erratic, but like Jerry, always different girlfriends. George always different jobs, and Elaine different boyfriends slash jobs. Elaine kind of was a character that was originally not even in the series, until Larry David and like the execs were like, okay, that's a female character.
it was a Elaine type character though.
In the pilot, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was.
Yeah, that's right.
And we're also forgetting one of the most important characters who appears in almost every episode, Ruthie Cohen.
Oh, that's right.
How could you possibly forget Ruthie Cohen?
Well, tell the viewers who she is.
Well, yeah, I find this hilarious. She's not an extra. She's an actual character of the show, but she doesn't do anything for the entire series. She just stands behind a cash register anytime they're in the famous Monk's Cafe set, which is the one that has the restaurant. Sign.
The sets. Yeah. You ever been to Tom's restaurant?
No, I have to go there one day.
Yeah, I have to go there. It's nothing like it inside, though. Just to let you know, don't like. I'm pretty sure I used to think back then that was a real cafe, and
Really?
like a real restaurant, and like they were. I didn't understand, sets at 4 years old.
We're the only people in this industry who don't use sets, Crystal Fisher.
In this industry, yeah.
Hey, we're in the industry. What are you?
We're in the industry.
Of course, we're in the
We're
industry.
in the industry. We're in the empire business.
We're in the movie industry.
The diner is one of those places where I just don't feel like, even though so many other shows have that, like that restaurant or that set that you go to, it doesn't feel unnatural that they're always in there. They just seem like the type of people that would always be there.
Well, this is also another sticking point of the show. It's that in the cities such as New York, they always bump into each other unplanned. How do they do that? Like, they could be walking down the street and, say, Elaine and Kramer are just walking down the street. They could bump into each other just out of nowhere.
I'm sure there's explanations every time, but yeah, sometimes it is stretching.
Sometimes there's not explanations. Great. Most of the time there isn't. They just bump into each other.
Well, yeah, I suppose.
Oh,
yeah.
Hey, Elaine, I'm walking down the street.
Actually, I don't really remember that many times when they just run into each other.
Happens a lot, especially in the cafe, like, just out of nowhere, like...
Oh, in the cafe, yes. That's because that's their, like... in case of emergency, go here, and they're always in shit, so they kind of just like go to this cafe. It must be really warm in there or something.
They might have planned it out ahead of time, like every day at this time to come up to the cafe.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We have a quota of meetups to fill. We need to go to the cafe.
We need to make sure we're always there. Yeah, I don't know.
Isn't there like
180?
No. I'm not asking how many episodes there are. I'm just saying, isn't there like one episode where George isn't in the episode?
There's a few without Elaine when she goes on holiday to Tuscany. I think
she was actually pregnant, wasn't she? Julia Louis
Dreyfus, yeah.
Pregnant.
She was actually,
and they had to cover it by sending her character to Tuscany.
It wasn't very long though, in this grand scheme of things, because I'm pretty sure the season actually wrapped up. It wrapped up before.
Well, most of the shots when she was pregnant in Tuscany were like sort of Like you couldn't subtly framed so you couldn't see that she was actually.
Yeah, they did a very similar thing in the pilot episode of Modern Family. Julie Bowen was pregnant, and she'd always be something covering up her belly, but like sometimes you could kind of see it. You know what I mean? Like so they did that was different, but yeah, they go to some measures to prevent pregnancy, and it's a testament to the actors that they are actually acting during such a big level of pregnancy. So
A big
well
level of
done.
pregnancy.
Obviously Julia Louis Dreyfus, obviously is really proud that I just said that. So, hello, how you going? How's Veep? Yeah, she's listening to this podcast right now, guys.
Probably, I'm sure. I'm sure all the execs who worked on Seinfeld are listening to this.
Hey
I'm sure.
guys,
I'm sure Jerry Seinfeld of B movie fame is also listening to this.
Jerry Seinfeld is going to talk about this in his next act. So there was two Australian, guys that were speaking, and they were talking about the show as if they ran the show. Look at them with all their, their deep references and textbook knowledge over a 90s sitcom. I don't know. Okay, that's nothing like what Jerry sounds like. But actually, some people, some people, and that being Ratchet 5 of Slide Spin fame, he says that some of my humor and mannerisms are from Jerry. Jerry is like as a character, who I like to talk about. Jerry is a great character. He is the straight man of the bunch, but he really isn't the straight man of the bunch.
Well,
You know
no,
what
but
I mean?
when he's with George, he's the straight guy. He has a good double act with Jason Alexander. Like George is
Really does.
always like the comedic one, and Jerry plays like the straight man foil to his.
I would argue that a lot of the times he can steal the scene, though.
No. I'm just saying like the two of them, the double act they have is that Jerry's the straight man. But I mean, yeah, he's the straight man. To
Most of the
George's.
time, yes. Most of the time, he is.
Like
There are some times where Jerry be freaking out and George will be the rational one, and that's always fun when George isn't the crazy one. You know what I mean? When George doesn't have a huge problem going on.
doesn't happen
And it
often, but it can happen.
doesn't happen often, but it happens.
Yeah, would you
in
say?
the pool.
I would say George is almost the most selfish character in the show, though. Like you said before, Elaine was, but I'm just thinking about it. I don't know. George is very selfish.
George did some selfish things, but he had a pretty, like, you can all attribute it to his parents. His parents are terrible. They're just completely oblivious to everything. You know what I mean? And like Festivus, what kind of child abuse is that?
Festivus. The
A
airing
Festivus
of
for the rest of us.
the airing of grievances. No, but yeah, I know what you mean, but like still, like the whole like Susan thing where he
Oh God,
that was horrible. Like
that was a real dark situation.
oh, that time, I would almost say they almost crossed the line, that Susan thing. It probably didn't, but I mean, I'm just saying like very
Shows have gone further, but yeah,
pretty offensive with treating death the way they did.
that was what made it. So that's what made me when I was watching it go, this show is a one of a kind. You know what I mean? Because they're not even daring doing stuff like this now.
They're not even
Yeah.
trying to do like that false sentimental bullshit with it, though, are they?
No, the greatest thing about it is the fact that once she dies, like they're just like, oh, you want to go get a coffee? You know what I mean? Like that was just, I laughed at that. I found that hilarious. But at the same time, I found myself ashamed that I was laughing.
No,
that
I'll tell
Susan-
you. I'll tell you why it's good with that. It's all about the tone. Seinfeld has a very consistent tone and doesn't get tonally frustrated. It knows what it is. It knows it's a comedy, and it never bothers trying to do that, sentimental bullshit or the serious bullshit. It's
No,
always,
because the characters are actually incapable of doing that anyway.
well, it can't
They're
work
not
like
capable
that.
of being sentimental. They're not good people. That's the thing. They're not capable of having emotional scenes like that. I mean, yes, there are scenes that are more serious in nature, but still, I would not say they're capable of having that level of connection or sentimentality that you and I would have.
Yeah,
No way. They're not good people.
it always makes light of everything, and that's a good thing for Seinfeld, because it means that like you don't ever get confused. Like, what am I supposed to feel here? Is it supposed to be like, for instance, Babu Bhatt, the Pakistani guy?
Or I would argue that actually that's a good point. You feel very bad for Babu, but it
But
wasn't really their fault anyway. It
do
wasn't
you feel
their
bad for
fault.
him because the characters don't, and that's like a
No. This is, oh, you've brought up the worst example. Jerry did actually genuinely feel empathy for Babu. That's the thing. That's why in the finale when Babu blames Jerry, I'm like, no, that was not Jerry's fault. Jerry did care about. No, you need to rewatch that one, Angus.
But
Jerry
okay,
really did
yes,
care
but
about the
not to
visa.
the extent that you would think, though.
No, I'd say to the extent more because in comparison to everything else they've done, they've never really cared about it like that. I'd say Babu was a really bad thing. I mean, yeah, he moved on. He just didn't give a shit because he's Jerry Seinfeld. But he did care for a short time, and he did try and help him. He tried, he gave him genuine suggestions for the restaurant, and he tried to get him the visa, and it was
Suggestions
actually
that
Newman's
failed.
fault. Whose fault was it again with the mail? Was it Elaine?
Uh,
Someone didn't take the mail, and that's what got him deported back to
no, it's
Afghanistan or
Kramer's
whatever.
fault. Kramer's fault.
Jesus,
Actually, yeah,
that was.
you are probably right. Yeah, that was probably the only time when they actually. Well, they still made light of it though.
They didn't joke about it like, lol, he's going back to.
No, but they still didn't take it like super seriously. Like, this is the.
No, Jerry yelled a lot at the guys. He was like, "I cannot believe you did this." He did. You.
Yeah,
I
but
don't
Jerry
know if you.
Seinfeld has like a strange way of like anger. Like, he always goes into this high pitched like
Yeah.
thing when he gets
Yeah,
angry.
but it was still serious though
I guess so. About as serious as you can get for Seinfeld.
with Jerry. Yeah. Jerry. I mean, they do have flashes of being good people. They're not, like sometimes they can be good. Sometimes, as I said, a lot of it is misinformation and confusion, and other people actually beginning the bullshit. Like, what about when George is trying to get into that cinema, he goes out twice and he wastes 2 tickets because the guy couldn't recognize him. Like, fuck off. I mean, that whole thing was that guy was just being an absolute prick. Do you know what I mean? Forgetting who he was. And when he just exited, you know what I mean? That was ridiculous. Like, not everything is their fault. The system has kind of fucked them, and they kind of fucked the system, I think. Like, there are times where you go, oh, that's unlucky with them. And then they just make it worse by screwing it up even worse.
There's also a lot of times when like they don't know something that someone else knows and that kind of thing, and they have to like play around it.
Yeah, you're right.
There's also a lot of stuff with like, especially George and like his jobs and stuff, and like the way he like has to keep his jobs and that kind of thing. It's like a real kind of like this, for instance, when he is working at the Yankees and his car like is parked in the Yankees car park, and he has
That's
to
right.
get them to go every day and like clean the things off there, and and they think he's going to work and turning up super early every day and staying super late, and they give him a promotion even though he wasn't actually at work. Like,
Oh,
that's
I
just
love that arc. Oh, that was great. Steinbrenner?
Steinbrenner.
Yeah, that was
And
great.
the other guy gets fired because of it.
Oh yeah, shit. See, that's when like I found myself feeling so much empathy. We as viewers feel the empathy for the other characters, the people that surround them, the people that are unfortunate enough to surround Jerry, Kramer, Elaine, and
Like
George.
that
We're
fat
the ones
guy
that
in the
feel
final.
empathy. Yeah.
Yeah, you feel
Oh
sorry for
yeah.
that guy.
Okay, but see, that's another example where that wasn't really George and that's fault. I mean, that brings us to the point of the final, which I, they shouldn't have gone to jail. You know what I mean? Like, and also in a court of law, you're not actually allowed to bring up those other situations like that in the way they did. And the citizen's arrest thing never really only existed in, I think, that state for a short time. So it was kind of, I don't know. Do you think that maybe Larry David wrote the finale like that as a bit of a like, hey, I'm back, I'm just gonna fuck you up? I don't know, because it kind of seemed to me that it was a bit like rich, that they go to
Well,
jail.
it comes with the prospect of what happens when they get out of jail. Does that mean the show continues after that? You know?
How long were they sentenced to jail for anyway?
Oh, only like a year or something.
Well, now also we can talk about Seinfeld in canon. It does actually what's it called? What's the final episode called? The finale.
Yeah.
It's called the finale. The finale isn't the end of the canon of Seinfeld. It continues in the season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, season 7.
No.
Yes, that's canon. So I
But
knew
it's
you were going
not
to say
Seinfeld characters, though, is it?
It is. They do a reunion show.
Yeah, but it's not the characters; it's the actors.
Yes, it is. It's in the universe. It's the Seinfeld universe.
No, but they actually they don't call him Kramer; they call him Michael Richards.
That's what I mean. But they film an episode of Seinfeld. Are you getting what I'm saying? That's what they Larry David talked about. Like the episode that they filmed was like as if it was Seinfeld. It was just in the Curb universe. You getting what I'm saying?
So you're saying
So
the Curb universe exists in the Seinfeld universe?
no,
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 no, it doesn't.
no,
No.
no, no, no. I'm saying the Curb universe is just, a fictional universe. But in the fictional universe, they film a Seinfeld reunion. And I'm saying that in canon, that's what happens after.
So
So
that is you would say that's in canon of
that's in
Seinfeld.
canon. Yes, that's in canon.
Or would you say it's
And
in a
they
parallel universe where Seinfeld exists as a TV show?
Well, Seinfeld exists as a TV show to us.
To us, but
It's
but in
in terms of canon, it exists. In terms of universes, it's completely muddled because yeah, it's in a fictional show called Curb Your Enthusiasm where the characters are playing like
okay, here's how I would say it.
actors.
Here's how I would say it. In our universe, it's in canon, so it technically is in canon. But in the Seinfeld universe, it isn't in canon.
No, I'm saying that in Seinfeld, let's say Seinfeld was real life. Um, that episode would count as a reunion episode
Yeah,
because
to
they
us,
said
but
they
not to
they
the.
said they would note in Seinfeld as in Seinfeld like right now like George is like alive. George would have had the iPhone app about the toilet, the iToilet. Have you actually seen the
No, I haven't.
episode?
I haven't actually. I've seen.
Okay, you need to see it so you understand. I won't spoil it, but it was good. It was really good. I loved the way they did that because it was the only way Seinfeld could have continued in any capacity. When Jason Alexander was doing his like promotional tours in Australia for Jason Alexander and His Hair, which is a new live show, he was talking about if they'd ever bring Seinfeld back for a reunion. They said if someone came up with an idea, they would, and he said the closest thing they did to that was the Kirby thing, and they were really happy with the Curb reunion and getting everyone back to film.
I wouldn't want Seinfeld to return. I don't
I
think.
wouldn't want it to return. Yeah,
I
no,
think
I
I
would.
think it existed in a time where it
Oh
was
yeah, Seinfeld could have never existed in any other time period at
no,
all.
no, no.
At all. It had to be 90s.
Time and place, perfect, perfect, perfect. And
See,
for once,
Friends could exist in any time.
well,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
Friends has an anytime feel. That's a problem with Friends. It's not well enough defined as a show. It's just like a. When I think of general shows, I think of general sitcom. I think of Friends. When I think of Seinfeld, I think of Seinfeld. That's all I can. Seinfeld is its own thing. It's not like a. I wouldn't generalize it or put it in a category with any other.
Yeah. A newer example of Seinfeld would be something like um, Happy Endings, which is kind of like a show that has kind of a lot of different scenarios and characters and friends and like a lot of people, a lot of idiots refer it to as like what's it called? Friends, but it's nothing like Friends. It's more like Seinfeld actually. So there are shows that I would consider to be Seinfeld-esque, but Seinfeld did redefine the genre, I
Yeah,
think.
I would just, they probably would bring Seinfeld back at some point because they fucking brought the Lone Ranger back. Who the hell cares about the Lone Ranger?
What is
So
that? It's a Lone Ranger.
exactly. I'm not even going to answer that question for you because it proves my point
They
exactly.
they brought Arrested Development back.
Yeah,
They
but
brought
Arrested
Alan
Development.
Partridge back too.
Yeah, okay, fine, yes, exactly. But it's a different kind of situation here with Seinfeld. Seinfeld ran its course. Alan
Yeah.
Partridge didn't run its course. It still had plenty to go, plenty of fuel in the tank. Same with Arrested Development.
Oh,
Sein-
I'm not saying Seinfeld will ever come back. I'm just saying the only way they'd do it back, it would be like a joke or something. Or
but I'm glad it's not going to come back though.
yeah,
That's what I'm
See,
saying.
something like Arrested Development, you would want to keep coming back. I would be happy if they did a million seasons
But
of
that's
Arrested
because it's still
Development.
fresh though. Like
Exactly. But
Seinfeld ran its
Seinfeld, I would
course.
not like to see another season, and I'm also glad that they ended it at season 9 and not season 10, because Jerry himself was offered $5 million per episode. Now that amount of money has never, to this day, been offered for someone for individual episodes. Not even close. Charlie Sheen, I think, was offered
Two
like
million was it?
1.7 million. And I think what's his name and that other guy. What's that guy's name again? Ashton Kutcher's been offered. He gets 700,000 an episode. Now, also take into account inflation. $5 million in 1998. That would be like 6 million now or more. It's just crazy. It's
Yeah.
crazy how much money he was offered, and that is almost a concluding statement. Seinfeld never at any point sold out, ever. It never sold out.
And it didn't have to sell it either. I mean, it was like the networks loved it. The network loved it.
Obviously, if the fact that they're offering $5 million. Okay, you think about 24 episode season. What's 24 times 5?
It's a lot.
Like $4,500 or something. Ridiculous.
4,500.
Something like that. No, 4 million or whatever. No, $45 million. No, wait, no, it's fuck maths. Okay, they were offered a heap. Okay, and he thought, no, I don't want to jeopardize the show's legacy by making more.
Yeah, that's true.
24 times. Let's have a look. 24 times 5 million.
Wait, he's still trying to figure that out. Let's see. 24. That'd be about 100 million for 20 episodes. So about.
Okay, he'd be offered
$120
million.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. 120 million. Yeah. That's. Oh my god.
Okay, he was offered $120 million to write and to co-write and act in, and that's just Jerry. Do you know what I mean? What about George? What about Jason Alexander? What about Elaine? What about Kramer? What about all the, that's how successful ratings was. And actually, that's an interesting point. We always talk about, Big Bang Theory getting 17, 18 million viewers, which in today's day and age is really good. Back then, Seinfeld was getting that amount as well, if more. And that's the thing. Seinfeld is one of the only examples of a really smart comedy that got a heap of really good ratings. You know what I mean? Good, smart shows these days don't get ratings like that.
Yeah. The dumbed down ones for the masses, the dumb masses, the popcorn shoveling, face feeding masses are the ones that people watch.
The ones that I feel superior to.
Well, we are at Slidespin TV. We are elitists, and we're latte sipping lefties, and we feel like we're above everyone.
We are.
That's us.
That's true, though. That's true. That's who we are. We are, and we're not going to change that.
No.
But yeah, it is a testament to the viewers that it really was a popular show. They were willing to spend $120 million on one person just to bring it back for a 10th season, and they said no. And that brings me to the point that I don't know if you're going to agree with me, but I think that I'm happy they ended it at season 9, okay? I'm really happy they ended it. But let's say they hit 200 episodes. I still think the show would have been good up until season 11, like Frasier. Frasier, I think people say they got bad after season 9 or 10.
Everything gets bad after a certain point.
Everything gets bad, but I just don't think Seinfeld would have got bad if they did another season. I think they still had jokes there, but it just would have progressively got worse. And so I'm glad they ended it on a high note. Well, okay, before the final episode, the Puerto Rican day, it ended on a really high note. The finale kind of gave it a bit of a bitter taste, but I think that's the way you're meant to feel. Like you've been with these characters for 10 years, people that watched it from the beginning. And you go, well, what now? Oh, they go to jail? Oh, okay, well,
I feel I prefer the ending of Seinfeld to the ending of Freaks and Geeks. That just left me, feeling horrible, the end of Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks is depressing.
Same with the end of Twin Peaks. That left me,
Yep. So I'd rather a really kind of, fuck you to the audience ending of Seinfeld than a non-ending like Twin Peaks, or not non-ending, but a...
Open.
I like open-ending movies and stuff, but TV, give me the answers, damn it. You know what I mean? Certain things are up for interpretation, yeah, sure. But yeah, it's frustrating. And Twin Peaks is a podcast that you may have heard already, I don't know.
Twin Peaks is a podcast for another day. Or another night, maybe.
Yes, isn't it?
Anyway, I think we've covered Seinfeld.
Well, we've covered 1/18 of Seinfeld, so that's good.
Well, there's way more to talk about in Seinfeld. It's just
we might have a sequel if we can categorize what we discussed here, and people suggest what we didn't discuss. I'm sure there's a million things we forgot, but for the 1 hour limit we got, not 1 hour limit, but 1 hour average we're aiming for, If
Well,
if you're
anymore.
watching,
I'm people who watched it, listen to this. Thank you very much. Like, tell
thank you.
tell us how long would you like these? Because I mean, we could go for 2 hours or more, but I don't. I just think we. I don't know if people could handle listening to us.
There should be no time limit. Never constrict yourself to a time limit.
Yeah, but I just don't
I
want
think,
to overstay my welcome. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, I say that a minimum of 30 minutes and a maximum of 2 hours. Um, yeah, but that's just what I think. But
Yeah. Anyway,
Twin Peaks should be good.
this was a good or TV spin. Part of,
TV's, part of the Podspin
is it,
network or whatever
we
that
don't
we
know what
got.
else will be in the Podspin network. We haven't.
Probably Game Vagrant or something. I
Probably
want to talk about
politics
games.
vagrants. Probably poll spin.
Polespin.
No one wants to listen to poll spin.
No one does.
Why
No.
is there not an audience for Australian politics discussion?
They're just watching Clark and Dorr.
Where is where is the audience for that? No one wants
Dead.
to. No one wants to discuss Australian politics.
Oh, your grandma would be interested.
Oh yeah. I'll let my grandmother listen to my
Be me a
Australian.
guest. So what's coming up? We've got. Well, I don't know. It really depends on timing. Either you could have already seen it, or it's not out yet. But we have a Twin Peaks one coming up as well with Angus's sister.
Oh yeah. We're gonna have a fresh perspective.
Yes, we're going to have a woman here. See that we're very diverse at ScienceBin.tv.
We have foreign people and we have women.
Yep. We have Netherlandic people. Not that that's even a word.
We have illegal aliens who try to sneak across our borders, and we have
legal aliens, Englishmen in New York. I'm a legal alien, you know.
that's police song, isn't it?
No, it's Sting. But yeah.
Yeah, but that is police though.
No, it's just Sting. It's just Sting.
Well, Sting is from the. Anyway, shut up.
It's just the police. It's Sting. It's Sting's solo career, 1987. Anyway. Yep, it's before Seinfeld began. Look at him, ahead of his time. Good Sting.
Sting was ahead of his time. Hey,
No,
you want to hear 6 degrees of separation between Seinfeld and Sting?
Go.
Okay, so there's a movie called B Movie, and Sting is getting investigated in like the courtroom scene in B Movie, and Jerry Seinfeld plays the B in B Movie, and Jerry Seinfeld.
Oh, yeah.
How the hell?
Sting's in that movie?
He has like a second, like he plays himself.
Oh wow!
And it's like because get it, bees and Sting.
Sting, yeah. It just reminds me. Oh, Sting's in this as a reference to Britta's in this Community. Okay, yep. So let's forget Twin Peaks for now. Just like what are we gonna do after? What's another good show that both of I have watched? Bearing in mind we need Johnny Natron. Okay, Johnny Natron hasn't seen Freaks and Geeks, so we'll do Freaks and Geeks.
Yeah, we got Freaks and Geeks. I'm Alan Partridge.
I'm Alan Partridge. I got to finish that. So
that could be
that's a good one.
And we should do it after the movie comes out.
Yeah, okay, we'll do that. Yeah, you're right. We'll do that.
Because there is an Alan Partridge movie that.
And then hopefully we'll be in the. I'll get Slidespin set up, or we'll be in like the Google News thing. So like maybe someone we have like Alan Partridge retrospective, and like we'll show up in the Google News.
Everything's happening on Slidespin, not at the moment, and. Not for a while, but it'll start happening.
And Angus will finally donate some money to the site.
And I'll start doing unnecessary reviews, because I will start that shortly.
Oh, that'd be good. Unnecessary reviews.
Who knows what I'm going to do in unnecessary reviews? I don't even know yet. I have no idea what unnecessary reviews is or isn't.
Well, it definitely isn't a partnered show that is on your channel. But yeah, thank you very much for listening.
Thanks for putting up with us for like an hour and a quarter or however long we were speaking for.
It's pretty impressive. I'm pretty happy. And I think that if you don't like Seinfeld, tell us why. But you're probably not listening at this point. You're probably like, well, fuck you. Goodbye. But Seinfeld is one of my most recommended shows. But I also recommend that you don't just watch one episode or one season. You watch the whole show. Because it's like The Wire. You can't just watch season 1 and go, well...
You can't put Seinfeld down either. Once you start, you just can't stop.
You can't.
I found myself on multiple occasions, like, just continuously, like, watching episodes.
Yeah, it has a binge-watching feel. Just like remember Arrested Development back in the day? How many people you'd watch? You know what I mean? Like
I watched Arrested Development. Like, I don't know. Like, want to talk about binge watch? I watched Twin Peaks in 6 days.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
How the hell did I do that?
How many days did your sister watch? Oh, okay. No, that's an answer for the podcast.
I
All right.
can't believe I did that. I can't believe what was I doing at that time? I must have been like either really depressed or really like had nothing to do that I could watch.
I'm just depressed. Okay. Well, it's Lights Been on TV. I'm Crystal Vision, and
I've been Nintendo Gen 64, and I will continue to be that until I die.
yep.
Or the
And to
internet
play you
gets
out, pave paradise, put up a parking lot.
you know, paving paradise, like it puts a, to put a car park in there really alleviates congestion, which makes paradise a better place. But no, they weren't thinking about that at the time, were they?
Quote Alan Partridge. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Yeah, it was good. That was really good.